The coronavirus pandemic and mitigation efforts have changed our world and will greatly alter the experience of public assembly in every form for the foreseeable future. Arts organizations, large and small, have a responsibility to define best practices and implement a set of policies and procedures to keep staff, artists, crews, and the general public safe. We've adopted universal measures to serve as a shared set of guidelines to steer your planning and amendment of your internal operating procedures and communication strategies. These measures define your commitment to safety and preparedness and help ensure to the best of your ability the health and safety of everyone who utilizes your infrastructure in artistic expression and gather to experience art in all forms. As we prepare for opening, let's discuss the 8 strategies to create safely, present safely, and attend safely. Enhance sanitation and hygiene. All venues and workspaces should undergo professional deep cleanings and receive a comprehensive viral disinfectant fogging when applicable to your venue prior to reopening. Venues and workspaces should maintain rigorous daily cleanings with increased disinfecting procedures on all high-touch surfaces. All venues and workspaces should have sanitizer and/or hand-washing stations installed at convenient locations at points of entry, common areas, offices, elevator, and restroom entrances. All workers should be required to use and should be given convenient access to sanitizer and hand-washing stations and should be routinely prompted to practice good personal hygiene. Regular hand washing is one of the best ways to remove germs and prevent its spread. Here is a reminder of best practices. Wet your hands with clean, warm, or cold water. Lather by rubbing together for at least 20 seconds. Rub palms together. Make sure you get the back of hands between fingers and be sure to scrub your fingernails. Rinse and dry off with a clean paper towel. COVID-19 uniform and dress code policies. All employees, vendors, contractors, and volunteers whose job scope requires interacting and/or transactions with the public or other colleagues are required to wear protective face coverings while in venues and workspaces. When applicable and possible, all guests of venues and workspaces should be required to wear protective face coverings. Venues and organizers should use best efforts to provide PPE when possible. Here are some helpful tips for proper use of PPE equipment. Identify the proper PPE for your venue. Face masks should cover the mouth and the nose. It needs to be secured either around the ears or on the top of the head and base of the neck. Wash your hands before putting on gloves. Gloves should cover your wrist. When taking off PPE, remove gloves first, using the glove-in-glove or bird beak method to avoid contaminating your hands. Wash your hands and then remove your face mask by pulling it away from your face without touching the front. Health screenings. This step requires employees, vendors, contractors, volunteers, and guests, when possible, receive health screenings prior to starting their shift or entering your venue or workplace. Health screenings should be done safely and respectfully in accordance with any applicable privacy laws and regulations. Consult the Centers for Disease Control for best practice in health screenings and related data collection. Here are some ways you can set up health screenings for employees and patrons. Employees can fill out a daily health questionnaire performing self-temperature checks at least once a day, twice if possible. Take temperatures of all staff and guests prior to entry into venues and workspaces. Anyone with a temperature of 100.4 or greater should be denied entry. Utilizing technology like health apps can help streamline this process. Contact tracing protocols. To ensure proper contact tracing protocols are in place, require all guests, vendors, contractors, and volunteers provide full contact information prior to or upon entering venues or workspaces. Some examples include have a sign-in at entrances, setting appointments for gallery visits, requiring reservations for restaurants, and selling tickets to theaters and concert venues in advance. Special events in your venue should require full contact information for all guests in attendance. Contactless public experience. To the best of your ability, offer the public the ability to enjoy a contactless experience at your venue entries and exits, point of sale, ticket scanning, and concessions. Here are some ways to create a contactless environment. Plexiglass screens should be used when possible to create safe boundaries for employees and guests. Keep interior doors open to reduce the handling of staff, and when possible, consider keeping the main entrances open for guests to enter without contact. If that isn't possible, consider having security or door staff open the doors for the public. Reduce capacity social distancing. Venues and workspaces should be prepared to operate at a reduced capacity with seating plots and floor plans designed to maximize and ensure social distancing at a minimum of 6 feet. This includes galleries, theaters, event spaces, restaurants, cooperative workspaces, offices, studios, rehearsal spaces, and backstage areas. Visible signs should be installed in easy-to-read locations, and responsible staff should be effectively trained in appropriate communication strategies that encourage and respectfully prompt visitors to adhere to social distancing policies. Crowd control measures can include allowing early entry into theaters, keeping lobbies clear, and plan for controlled intermission and dismissal of productions. Consider routes that allow for one way in and one way out of the establishment. Retool floor plans and encourage patrons to remain socially distant when in lines, and consider having a qualified monitor to manage the capacity of each space at all times. On-site and remote staffing. Consider a phased approach for staff re-entry into the workplace, or create a system for rotating work schedules for on-site employees. Create remote work from home policies as needed, and educate staff about what is being agreed upon as a team. For office space, consider the following measures. Require masks and PPE when appropriate. Hold meetings via technology instead of in person. Create routine cleaning procedures for shared equipment like printers, kitchens, and restrooms. Limit or redesign conference rooms and limit physical paperwork, and move to digital options when possible. Other shared spaces like coat rooms and staff lockers should also be modified to fit within these guidelines. Communication strategies. Now more than ever, employees and patrons are looking for health and well-being support. Every business must be able to clearly communicate these expectations and guidelines. The best way to start is by ensuring there is an internal alignment before reopening. You can do this by clearly setting employee expectations with regard to remote return-to-work policies, visitor, contractor, and guest policies, and sickness and leave policies. To maintain this continuity for patrons, make sure the instructions are visible for both staff and visitors. Share the information on your website and social media. During this unprecedented time, it is important for employees to understand the audience and provide information in a straightforward manner. Setting the tone is key in uncomfortable situations with guests who may not want to comply with the guidelines. Keep in mind that posture, body language, and facial expressions are visual cues that can put the consumer at ease. Kindly remind patrons of policies that don't single out one particular individual when trying to help them adhere to the policy. Remind them that personal responsibility is paramount and we're all in this together. These measures define your commitment to safety and preparedness and help ensure to the best of your ability the health and safety of everyone to keep staff, artists, crews, and the general public safe.